So we're going to cover basic use of the tooling panel in Motus. So basically the tooling panel just allows you to set up and select your tools for your various operations. Over here on the left hand side you have your tool library. Over here you have your slot view, so you can see which tools are active. And then over here on the right hand side you have a panel with the tool info. So let's go over some of the tool library functions. So basically you can select a tool that you might have, and then you can create a tool using this add new tool ID, and typically what it will do will pick up on the tool that you've already selected and use that as a starting point. So it's always going to default to whatever current tool you have selected. So if you want to create more ball nose tools, you probably want to select the ball nose, and then you can just change the diameter from there and adjust as necessary. So if you wanted to create, a 1/100th of an inch diameter ball nose, which we already have, you could do that here. But let's say 15 thousandths of an inch, you can hit apply, and then you'll have this new tool created. And so basically this panel will stay open. As you can see up here it says add new tools, apply for each tool, cancel when done. So it kind of stays open so that if you have multiple tools you want to create, you can just keep adding them and pressing apply as you go. So once you're done you have to cancel out of this, otherwise it's gonna think you're still creating tools. So I'll just say cancel at this point. So in order to load up a tool table for a particular project, it's pretty simple. So you just basically find the end mill that is going to be for your project and pull it over there. So you can sort that list over here on the right hand side. So you can say show imperial first or show metric first. So that's an option. So I'll just put to show imperial first. Another item here is that show slot loaded first. So this basically will just always at the top, you'll always have these blue items. These are items that are already active in your tool table. So basically at this point I'm just going to drag across some random tools as if they were going to be used in my project, but I'm going to just drag over 1/16 diameter here. I'm going to drag over 1/8 here. So as you can see, as I'm dragging these over, you're seeing these numbers here. Well, these are unique tool identifiers. These are for really used in more advanced application where you might load the same tool over and over. For example, I could load a bunch of 1/8 inch diameter tools here, and then you could actually, once this tool is used up, you could actually switch to another tool of the same one. So it's just saying since it has the same ID, it's effectively the same tool. But that's in fairly advanced applications. So I'm just gonna deactivate this tool, basically saying it's unused and then clean, and so then that gets rid of that. So if you're trying to get rid of a tool, that's how you would get it out of your tool slot. So the virtual slots are where you're going to have things like your camera or your probe. So you can see I have the probe active, which we typically use slot 97 for that, and I have a spindle probe there. That probe can be it needs to be active, and then you can also activate the probe using this button here. But so the virtual slots normally just either have manual mount tools where you have to manually mount the tool and not use the tool changer, or you have the camera or the probe. The slot list just shows all of them at the same time together. So if you're on your AT slot view again, basically some other things can happen. Like for example, let's say I am using this drill and it breaks during the operation. What you're going to find is that once it goes and puts that tool away, it's going to measure the length. and then if it's broken, it's actually going to put this broken icon here and error out. So when you see obviously a slot that says it's broken, you're going to have to fix that slot and put ready back onto it. So let's say it goes and puts the broken tool away but marks it as broken, you're going to have to take that broken tool out, and then you would basically place the ready check mark back on it, to that way it will switch from broken to ready because you've told it that you fixed that problem. Retired is basically if you were to use multiple tools. So if you had a drill that you were using many times and you had special code inside your G-code program, you could actually then after it's, let's say, drilled 1,000 times, it would actually switch to tool slot number 2 and 3 and so on, and then after it's done that, it would put retired on it because basically you used its useful life. So that's a very advanced function, not something most people need to worry about. So continuing over here, we've already used the broom, which cleans the tools that we've removed from the slot. The T0 can be used to just basically unmount all tools, so if you don't want any tool in the spindle, it goes and puts it away. There's another way to mount a tool, which is by actually selecting the tool slot here and then actually pressing this button. So if you press this, it's the same as dragging this over. So that's another option there. Probe, camera, if you have that option, it will activate that as a tool. And then this will refresh the tool slot from any updates to the tool database. Other function here, so basically you have an option to save your slot setup to a project. So if you've been working and you have like a project you've completed and you have a bunch of different tools in there and programs, and that's all related to your specific project, well then what you want to do, you don't need to do this obviously, but this is if you care about it, you can actually save that slot setup for that particular project. So that's another advanced feature. That's only if you want to record, what the particular tool setup was. And if I had done that, I could actually load that slot setup from that project. But we don't have that function available because we haven't saved it yet. Another option here is the advanced tooling commands. This is useful for opening and closing the spindle collet. So this is an override basically. This is just something like if you want to open the spindle to put an indicator in there, or you want to take a tool out of there, you can use these functions here to open and close the spindle, but it's not something you necessarily would want to use that often. Open and close cover, I mean, that's not too useful since you can just do that by hand. But so those are those functions there. Down here you can see your current tool display, so this will tell you what's going on with your tool and everything you need to know down there on what your tool status is, the diameter you selected, and the length that it measured of that tool. This actual, all of this information is repeated on the run screen right here in this area. So that's an overview of the tooling panel and how to use it.